Welcome to another in-session piece. This time around you join me on the banks of a rather drab-looking Brasenose 2 on the Linear Fisheries complex. Now it's only a couple of days since it's reopened due to the prolonged closed period where the lakes were all flooded up here, and I don't really know a lot about what's been going on, but you know what, I haven't been up here for quite a while now and I just wanted to get back out on the bank, have a go and hopefully try and catch a few fish. So like I say, we've come on to Brasenose 2. Now I arrived here first thing this morning on the gate. It's Monday today. I was second in line. We haven't had any swims closed, no privileges. Got here, had a little drive around, come round, like I say, onto Brasenose 2 first because this was the lake that I wanted to fish, and the reason why I wanted to come here was because this was the lake where I had a couple of bites before the lakes closed, and also as well it's rather mild and this is the shallowest of all of the lakes as well. So my theory is that the water in here is probably going to warm up a lot quicker than the others, the fish are going to be a lot more active, and hopefully I can put a couple of carp on the bank. Now like I say, it was pretty busy when I arrived here this morning and having a drive around, and I have just slotted in a peg. The peg that I'm actually in is a peg that I actually haven't fished before. It's just outside of the bowl area of the lake, almost opposite the point, so to speak. So I don't really get a lot of access to the main open body of water, which is sort of the area this time of year that I would tend to try and fish. But it is what it is. It is busy. I have just slotted in, got a couple of nights at our disposal. Let's see if we can make it happen. Well, one thing that you can always guarantee with Brasenose 2 is that you're never far away from the fish. A B2 is in fact the largest lake on the complex, but because it's so shallow, it warms up very quickly and the fish move about so much and they respond so well to bait. I've got the rods out this morning, they've probably been out about an hour, and I'm already in to my first carp, which is kicking right off, so I'm going to concentrate because it'd be nice to start the session on a high. So what I'm actually doing, well, I do it a lot when I'm fishing at Linear, is I don't actually aim to lose the lead when I get a bite, and the reason why I don't is because when the lead stays on, the fish are a lot easier to control. Now the pegs, as a lot of you will know up here, are quite close together, and there's nothing worse than when fish start kiting and they start taking other lines out. It's just something that happens, you know, it happens everywhere, but it does happen up here, and by keeping the lead on, it just means that you can keep the fish sort of down a lot lower and they come in a lot straighter line. And I've had a little bit of issue, this one has started to kite, but another little tip as well is if the fish starts to kite, play it with the rod facing towards where it's kiting, because what you generally find carp do is they'll always pull against the pressure. So if you're pulling them this way, they're naturally going to try to go that way. So if you just point your rod at exactly where they're kiting, 9 times out of 10 they come back, and I've managed to get this one back under control, and it's just in the margins now, so I'm going to concentrate, because like I say, it'd be nice to hit the ground running, wouldn't it? Right, looks like a decent fish to be fair. Come on. Yes! That's a good start to the trip. I'm going to get this one sorted, rod's back out, we're off to a good start. Right, it was definitely a little bit bigger than what I thought. Let's have a lift up, shall we? Oh yeah, that'll do. Just over £30. How's your luck, eh? What a start. How about this one then to start the film off? A little over £30 of Brasenose 2 mirror carp. I reckon the rods have been in no longer than an hour. And since I've had this one, or in fact whilst I was playing this one, I got done on my other rod. And yeah, I've re-spotted and I had a bit of an occurrence on my middle rod as well. So definitely out there. Yeah, the hunch to come on here after the lakes had opened back up has definitely paid off. Hopefully the first of many. Lovely. Long thing that is. Here we go. Right on cue. They're on it. Fish on. Well, this just shows the importance of getting the rod back out straight away and putting some more bait out. No sooner as I put that first one back, I'm in to another carp. Kited round to the right again, but we're making headway on him. Because the water level's still up a little bit, all of these marginal snags would normally be out the water, but as carp do, they know exactly where they're going. Here we go, another one. Double take this time though, so we're gonna have to get that one in, and then come off of this one. Pick the other one up. And that's the result. He's not down for anyone to line. Oh, kicking off. Here we go then. A proper Brasenose 2 meatball, but you know what? I don't care what they look like. When you're getting bites at this time of year, they all count. Right on cue, the plane's just gone over, but you know what? That ain't gonna stop me from rambling on, is it? Been a great start so far, and this is the reason why I wanted to come on to Brasenose 2. If any lake on the complex was gonna do bites after the closed period, it was always gonna be this one. I just love fishing on here. It's nice, easy, simple fishing. Find a clear spot, put a bit of bait out, and the action can be non-stop. Like I say, this is now the second one that I've landed. I've also had an aborted take as well. Rods have been out no longer than maybe 2.5 hours. And yeah, it seems like everything that I'm doing with this chat, there's just more noise. So I'm gonna put this one back, and I'm gonna focus on getting another one. Off you go, me old mate. On to the next one. Well, it's always nice to hit the ground running into a session, especially when you're out filming a session piece as well, because ultimately, when we're out filming these session pieces, a big part of it is actually catching a fish. But I just want to talk a little bit now about the peg that I'm in. Now, I have fished linear for a lot of years, as I'm sure you will all know by now, but this particular peg that I'm in here now, I've never actually fished in this peg. I fished the peg along to the left, but I've never got in there, more so purely because there's a little car parking space right behind it, and it's always a very, very popular swim. But the peg that I'm in is swim number 28, I believe it to be, which is on the riverbank of Brasenose 2. And it's when you look at the swim on paper, it's actually a very, very good swim because you've got the point directly opposite you, and it almost funnels not into a narrow channel. It's probably about 240, 250 yards across to the point, but it's the area where the fish would patrol to get from what would be the narrower end of the lake out into the bowl area, which is where they spend a lot of time. Now, the biggest rule of fishing on Brasenose 2 is to try and find a clear spot. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, but you want to find the most obvious clear spot that you can away from any weed, because of all the lakes on the complex, believe it or not, Brasenose 2 is the only one that really sort of shoots up the horrible smelly onion weed. Now, for those of you that will know what onion weed is, it is vile. Fishing anywhere near it, no matter wherever I fished in the world, I have just never, ever done very well. A lot of the other lakes that I would go to, I'd be looking at maybe finding like sort of more intimate areas, so to speak, but always somewhere that's quite clear to present me bait on. But on Brasenose 2, I'm looking to find the most obvious piece of gravel or clay, because there's quite a lot of clay in here as well, and clip up slap bang in the middle of the spot. Not worrying about touching the edge of the spot or the front side of the spot, right in the middle of the spot. And the reason for this is I want to make sure that my rigs and bait are as far away from this smelly onion weed as physically possible. Again, I know a lot of people might be thinking right in the middle of the clear spot, it's not the one, but your bait is away from all of this weed. And believe me, if you're chucking bags around on here, you will know that when you bring them back in, if it hasn't gone off, it's because it's covered in that onion weed. And I don't know, I've just never ever caught very well on it. So like I say, this particular peg, I've never actually fished in here before, but my general rule, like I always say to people, clip and fish to a distance that you're comfortable with. As it stands at the minute, I've got sort of a southwesterly wind that's sort of coming into me at a slight angle, which does make fishing at distance a little bit harder just because you've got the bow in the line to contend with. So what I've done is I've chucked out, found a real nice, perfectly clean gravel area at a distance that I'm happy to cast at, which is a little over 100 yards. In this weather, it is a perfect distance for me to cast, and I know that throughout the duration of my session, I'll be able to bait and fish that spot accurately every single time. And I think that, again, like I say, is one of the biggest keys. Find the clear spot. You know, if you come in here and you smack a lead out at say 110, 115 yards and you find a clear spot, and there, right on cue, is another bite. So yeah, find a clear spot, get a bite. Well, luckily enough, I was right near the end of that little piece of chat when this rod decided to rip off. But like I was saying, fishing on Brasenose 2 is all about finding a real blatant, obvious clear spot, which is exactly what I've done in this peg. Now, like I said, I've not fished in this swim before, but as with a lot of the places that you go to, you've got a horizon marker, and all I've done was literally clipped up to a distance that I knew I was going to be comfortable spotting at. So I clipped up at the start of the trip to 27 rod lengths. I didn't really want to go much further than that. And I just picked a few horizon markers and I just had a little lead around, and true to form, there was a clear spot right in line with a nice prominent sort of dome-shaped tree in the distance. So it's going to make fishing during the day easy, but also at night easy as well. And yeah, I started the trip with 8 spoms. A couple of them went a little bit wayward, I'm not going to lie. I was fishing last week and I was fishing where I had to cast a bit shorter, so I was a little bit rusty, but managed to get 8 bang on the money. And I've got 3 rods over the top. And then all I've done after each bite is just put 3 out. And I think this is, again, one of the things where a lot of people make mistakes. They put 8 spoms or 10 spoms out to start with, get a bite, and then they want to put half a bucket in. You know, you've had a bite, putting 8 spoms out, don't put loads more in. It's a matchman's mentality, little and often, keep the bites coming. And that seems to be what's working now. So yeah, I know I say it, I'm going to focus on getting this one in, because there's a lot of big fish in Brasenose too, believe it or not now. You've probably got 6 or 8 40-pounders. And the beauty with these fish is because they was all stocked at the same time, is they all feed together. So whilst you're catching maybe smaller fish, that next bite could be a big fish. So yeah, everyone counts. Stuck in the tree. Here we go. Oh, here's a pretty one. Here we go. Yeah. Haha. Lovely. Your worst nightmare, me carry on fishing, isn't it? Here's a pretty fish. You got the nibble. Well, no sooner had that one gone in the net, I clipped the rod back up, fresh hook bait on, chucked it back out, just about to make a little bit more bait up, middle rod, drop back to the floor, I'm in again. Brasenose 2 in the winter. Unbelievable action. In we go. Join your mate in here. Oh. Well, if I'd have lost that, I said it was about 3 times the size, but another one. The one thing with fishing on Brasenose 2 is there is quite a variety of plain ones, scaly ones, commons, and just your standard mirrors as well. So you don't ever know what's going to pick your hook bait up in here. And like I've said a couple of times already, this one here is probably touching 20 pound. The lake record in here is a little over 46 pound. It's probably backed up by about 4 or 5 other 40s. Now, whilst it's nice catching these, you know, oh, it's going to kick, you know that all the while you're getting bites, one of them big uns is never that far away. Well, that one I've just shown you and this one here were part of a double take. Again, another really nice, lively, scaly Brasenose 2 carp. I'm not going to take them up onto the mat. A quick little show to you there. I'm going to slip them back. Lovely. Off you go, my old mate. Oh, that water is freezing. Absolutely freezing. Well, no sooner did I slip that scaly one back, I am away again. And I know it's coming a little bit repetitive now, but this just shows that choosing the right venue at the right time of year, you can have some mega trips. It's gone mild and the pressure is still extremely high. It's still over 1,030, which in my eyes is a very, very high pressure. Watch the tree there, is a very high pressure, but with Brasenose 2, because it's a lot shallower, sort of all across the lake really, you can still fish down on the bottom and catch the fish sort of how you want to catch them really. I'm not saying I wouldn't catch them on zigs, but given where I'm fishing in between a couple of anglers, I probably wouldn't want to be playing them on zigs just because of how hard they fight and just the risk of sort of things going wrong. So you can fish down on the bottom, the water's warming up, it's rolling over in the wind, the fish are clearly responding to a bit of bait, and like I say, I'm in again. So yeah, it's only the first day. Still got 36 hours to go yet. And again, a lot of the time people say, oh, don't you get bored? Don't you just want to reel in at night? Absolutely not, I love it. I'm always fishing, always got a smile on my face no matter where I go. And like I keep saying, that next bite could rip off and it could be a proper monster. Well, another smaller one. Well, I say small, he's still mid-double. I'm not going to stress him out by getting him out, so I'm just going to release him. It is getting dark now, and the light will go pretty quick, so I'm going to watch him swim off, re-chuck, re-bait, tidy the kit out, have some dinner. What a good day it's been. Well, what a brilliant day's fishing it's been today. Didn't actually expect it to kick off quite like it has done. Normally, when the lakes have been closed for a long period of time due to a lot of floodwater going in, it does take a couple of 3 weeks to sort of get them back up and going again. But Brasenose 2, like I've said before, is a great venue to sort of get started. And it's normally the first one that kicks back off just because it's shallow. With the weather that we've got coming on now, it's a lot more mild than what it has been. Windy, it turns the water over and it just warms it up and it just gets them moving. And as well, there's quite a lot of anglers, and I think that's very important. You know, a lot of anglers on lakes, especially in the winter, that is going to get the fish moving around. Leads crashing in will get carp moving around more than anything else. But if you've had a good day, obviously you're going to start prepping for the night, and that's literally what I'm doing now. Now, one of the things that I always say to people, and they always say to me, is like, how are you so efficient when you're fishing? And sort of not make it look easy, but I don't have to go too far or dither about, for want of a better word, because everything I have is to hand. And what I do is almost set up and then I pack up, you know. And I'm sure as anglers you're all going to be watching this and you'll be able to relate to this next bit. We spend ages getting our kit ready. I've got another bite, second time today. Right, here we go. It's not a bad fish, him. It's fighting really bizarrely. They're fighting so hard. Proper deep-bodied thing, this one. Again, all these fish in it, they all look totally different. The guy next door did just have a common. It'd be nice to catch a common. Don't know exactly how big he is. Definitely a lot bigger than anything else I've had today. If you keep catching them, eventually something a bit bigger pops up, and let me tell you, this looks a little bit bigger. What a way to end the day that is. Cool. Is a decent fish, that one. Pull the net back quick. Yeah, that is a decent fish, that. Proper decent fish. What a great end to the day. She's heavy. That's going to test me, isn't it? That's what we come for. 38.5. That'll do. And that is exactly what I mean. You can get multiple bites out of B2, but all the whilst you're catching them, the big one's never far away, and that's proved it. Brace of 30s today, that one there, 38.5. How's your luck? Well, I don't quite know what to say. It's definitely been worth coming on to Brasenose 2 for this session piece. Have a look at this bad boy. 38.5 pound of absolute whopping Brasenose 2 mirror carp. Like I've said before, pick the lake that you want to fish with the conditions that you're faced with. And again, one thing I will say, it's high pressure. High pressure normally screams zigs. Yes, if I'd have probably put zigs out, I may have potentially caught the same amount, if not more fish. But this is furthermore to my theory that big fish are big, like me, because they eat. They're down on the bottom where the food is. 38.5 pound of January mirror carp. We ain't even done the night yet. Brothers, charge the batteries. Nearly 10 pound bigger in here as well. As nice as he is to catch. We go again. Oh, it's made my day. Made my winter. The size of it. Big old pig down on the bait. Off you go. Right, now it's my turn to eat. Well, before I was rudely interrupted by what turned out to be that 38.5 pounder, I was literally just getting to the point that I was going to make, which was when I set up, I almost pack back away again. And what I was going to say is, as anglers, we spend ages and ages and ages getting everything ready at home. We go fishing, you know, we think we're going to sort of like scale everything down. And when we actually go home from a session, you look back through your holder and you think, do you know what? I actually only use this little bag here and my tackle box. And that's exactly how I like to fish. I'll get set up. I know the tactic that I'm going to be using. Here it's either going to be a Ronnie rig or a fluorocarbon D rig, so I don't need a whole host of different bits and pieces spread out all around the bivvy and all across the swim. I literally put everything back where it should go. I leave my tackle box out. I've got my little box of hooks that I leave out, my spool of hook link material, and it's all just a hand in nice close proximity. So it just means that when I get a bite, get the fish in the net, unhook the fish, clip the rod back up, I can come back into the bivvy, I know where everything is, and I can get the rod back out, and it just makes me more efficient. And I know it might only seem a small thing and it might seem an obvious thing, but saving small amounts of time by being organised can definitely put more fish on the bank. And it also makes you want to put the rods back out, because if you get back in your bivvy and it's a mess and you've got stuff everywhere, you know, you're fumbling around, you're trying to look for your scissors or you're looking for your baiting needle, by keeping everything nice and neat and having minimal gear out, it just maximises the amount of time that your rods are out in the water. And at this time of year, you want them rods in the water for as long as feasibly possible, because you might not be getting a lot of bites, but when you do get bites, certainly on places like Brasenose 2 where the bites can come thick and fast, you might only have small windows of opportunity. And if you mess around in your bivvy and don't get that rod back out, you never know, you might miss out on a bite, just like I could have done with that 38.5 pounder. And a fish like that is enough to make anyone's year. So yeah, just be organised basically. You know, it isn't a massive thing. Just be organised, because by being efficient, it will definitely put more carp on the bank. And on that note, having a few rigs prepped as well. Now, I'm not one of these anglers that sits at home and ties hundreds and hundreds of rigs and has loads of rig boards with them all on, because the rigs that I use are very simple. The reason they're simple is because they work and they are easy to chop and change, and they're easy to use as well. So what I like to do is, once the rods are out, I'll just whip up a couple of D rigs, and all I'll do is I'll just leave the tag end by the hook open. So what I can do is, if I catch a fish, the hook's blunt but the hook bait's still good, I can simply snip the D that I've created on the old rig, put the micro ring swivel down on the tag end that I've got left out of the rig that I've already got tied, poke it back through the eye, blob it down, jobs are good and ready to go. So I only ever have like 3 or 4 of them tied up at any one time, but it's just enough that I can get the rod back out quickly, sit back in the bivvy and just tie one up to replace the one that I've used. Typically, we'd both just got into bed, not together, we'd both just got into bed, and the right hand rod has just ripped off and I'm into another Brasenose 2 carp. It's chuckled Brad, that one has. I thought I'd better clarify it weren't together, because even though we do work together, we don't sleep together. Yeah, I'm into another carp. Here he is, down here in front of me. Looks like another upper double, I reckon. Always nice to get one. Oh God, I'm making a bit of clatter here. Right, here we go. Another nice mirror. In we go. There we go. Another one. Back in bed together. Well, he's too nice just to put him straight back without getting him out on the bank and having a little look. Another fine, scaly brasenose 2 mirror. Nice to get a bite at night as well. So yeah, hopefully there might be a few more to come throughout the hours of darkness, but it's never really been a good night venue, brasenose 2, so it wouldn't really surprise me if nothing else happened throughout the hours of darkness. I'm going to set my alarm for 7 o'clock, and if nothing else has happened, I'm going to bring the rods in, redo them, more bait, and hopefully tomorrow is as good as what today's been. Well, as expected, last night went exactly how I thought it was going to. I had that fish early on, got the rod back out, a little bit more bait out, and managed 9 hours sleep. Woke up this morning, hadn't had anything else, but that is pretty much the case with brasenose 2. It's never really been renowned as a great nighttime water. Yes, you can get bites during the night, but I think that's just down to the sheer amount of anglers on the lake that someone is going to probably fall lucky and get a couple of bites through the night. But like I say, it's not a problem because I'm fresh, ready for today. So I'm just having my coffee now. I've got my bucket in front of me and I've just tied up 3 spare of each rig. So I've got 3 Ronnie rigs done up and I've also got 3 D rigs ready to rock and roll as well. I've already redone the rods, put some more bait back out, and it's looking pretty good. The weather's slightly different to yesterday. The wind's done a complete 180. It was blowing up the other end yesterday. Now it's blowing down towards the main bowl end. If it was probably like late Feb, start of March, I may be considering a move and they might move on this wind, but I think with the way it is at the minute, I don't think they're going to move very far from certainly where they were only a few hours ago. Yeah, and I reckon my prediction by 10, 11 o'clock, something else is going to have happened and we're going to have had another bite. But already it's been far better than I could have ever anticipated being. And that's just, you know, again, furthermore to why I say to so many people all the time, like somewhere like Linear Fisheries is just fantastic, because no matter what the weather, what conditions has been thrown at these lakes, because it has such a heavy footfall of anglers on it, the carp are always moving about, and whilst you can get bites as well, you can also get good ones. So yeah, like I say, rods are back out there, they're rocking. If they haven't gone within the next hour, I'm going to put 3 or 4 more spoms right over the top of the area, and yeah, hopefully today can carry on where yesterday left off. Right, rod's got a bite for you. Well, right on cue, just finished my coffee and the right hand rod is away. So like I said, thing with brasenose 2, you can almost guarantee you're going to have a good night's sleep, but it always pays to get up early and start fresh in the morning, because as soon as you start putting that bait back out, the fish are out there and they're waiting. So it's looking like today has started off where yesterday finished. So I'm going to concentrate getting this one in. It'd be nice to start the day with a nice brasenose 2 carp. Well, a bit of double take carnage. Brad had to step in and play one of them in just to sort of stop it from kiting left or right. So he's brought it in quite close. And I've got this one in quite close here. Doesn't actually look too bad a fish. That's another decent fish, that. I reckon he's definitely another 30-pounder. In we go then, my son. Oh, yeah, that is a good fish, that one. Right, that's that one. Now on to the next one. Key is not to panic. Here we go, into the next one. This one feels all right as well, to be fair. So interestingly, with this bite here that I'm playing now, when I had that bite, because I'm fishing quite close together, I think it had gone underneath them initially and it dragged the leads a little bit, because I've got quite heavy bobbins on, and I dropped back sort of an inch or so, and I know that obviously when them bobbins moved, the lead must have moved. But like I said yesterday, because I'm fishing dead centre of a mega clear spot and I've got pop-ups on, it's been dragged and I've still had a bite after it's been dragged. I know it's only a minimal pull of maybe, I think if it's moved an inch there, it's probably moved 6-8 inches out there. But fishing on a clear spot, if you do happen to have that happen, it just shows that you can still get a bite after the rig has been dragged. Obviously I don't recommend that, but it just means that whilst you're dealing with that fish, you haven't got to worry about the 2 rods here. And yeah, maybe this one actually took it as it was being dragged, who knows. But I'm gonna concentrate getting this one in, because the thing is with here, is once you start getting into them, like that, there's another really good fish. You just never know what's going to pop up next, and to be honest with you, this one here feels like it's got a little bit of weight to it as well. Have a good minute. And then turn your head around. That's a good way to start the day. 2 big uns. How's that for a morning brace then? 2 good carp. Here we go then. What have we got here? Oh, here's another big one. A little over 35 pound. What a start to the day. Another big 30 pounder. And I've got another one in the net as well that's not quite as big, but it's probably still a 30 pounder. Unreal January action. Let's have a look, brothers. Well, how about this then to kickstart the day? A little over 35 pound of Brasenose 2 mirror carp. And believe it or not, this was part of a double take. This was the first one that I landed. Brad had to take control of the second one, and I managed to land that one as well. And that is another half decent fish. Unbelievable winter action with so many big carp chucked in. This is now the 3rd fish that I've had over 30 pound, and I'm almost certain that the one in the net's over 30 pound as well. So 4 30s, I haven't even been fishing 24 hours. Unreal. That is a monster. Can't beat it for winter sport, can you? Look at that. Right, let's get your mate out. Let's size that in the water. It's under 33. That'll do. Well, I wasn't wrong. The second one, just over 33 pound. 33 pound, 2 ounces of lively, I might add, Brasenose 2 mirror carp. What a brace of fish, eh? Just over 35, just over 33 pound. Double take, 2 mid-30s. He's a bit of a lively one. I'm gonna get this one straight back, I think. He's not happy. Off you go. Okay, well I just slipped back those 2 lovely 30 pounders, and I thought now is a good time to run through the rig and the setup that I'm using. Now, normally I would be using my fluorocarbon D-rig, fished hard on the bottom or with a wafter bat. Now, for those of you that have fished Brasenose 2 quite a lot, you will know that there are a fair few crayfish present in the lake. Although I haven't had any problems with the crayfish on this precise trip, at any given moment those crayfish could come onto your spot and they could absolutely trash the rigs that you're using. Now, one thing that I have found when I fish waters with crayfish before is that by using a pop-up, whether that be a plastic pop-up or a real pop-up, it just seems that something off the deck that's a little bit harder for them to sort of pin down and to chew will last a little bit longer out there. And even though the action has been super hectic, if the rods are out there for a couple of hours, I want to be knowing that my rig is still fishing when the carp eventually turn up. So yeah, like I say, that is one of the reasons why I'm using a Ronnie. Now also as well, and I'm sure you will all be aware by now, I've recently joined Corda, and the beauty is with coming to a place like Brasenose 2, it allows me to experiment with a couple of different patterns of hook that Corda do to build confidence, because ultimately wherever you're fishing in the world, the one thing that we're relying on the most out of anything is being confident in the hook that we're using. So what I've got here is I've got a Ronnie tied exactly how I normally would. I've got about a 10 or a 12-inch boom there, and that's just tied via a loop knot straight to a Ronnie swivel, and then the hook that I'm using is a crank. Now, the crank hook is one of them patterns of hooks that's intrigued me for many, many years. I've seen so many people use them. A lot of the time, a lot of the European guys, when I go over abroad, they're using the cranks and they absolutely swear by them. And obviously now I'm in a position where I'm able to use the crank, but ultimately, even though I've seen other anglers use this hook who may be massively confident in it, I've still got to build that confidence in it myself. But by fishing it on the Ronnie like I am here now, it just gives me the option to change from maybe the crank hook to potentially trying it with a wide gate or some of the other patterns that Corda do. So it's just a good rig to chop and change hooks to build confidence. And so far, let me tell you, not that I really needed to test it too much, but this presentation here is absolutely nailed every single bite that I've had. And in terms of hook bait, I've just got a small 12mm pink pop-up, and that's topped off with 7 maggots. The reason I've got 7 maggots on there is because I know that by putting 7 maggots on top of one of these pop-ups, I don't need to add any additional weight to the rig. That's just going to sit down and it's going to be presented perfect every single time for when a carp comes on the spot and picks one up. This is mad action. I didn't, you know, this is sort of action that you'd expect in the warmer months when the fish are proper charging around, but, you know, it just shows then that maybe they are charging around. There is a lot of activity out there. Funnily enough though, I haven't actually seen, well, I've seen one carp show, which was a little bit beyond where I am, but since then I haven't seen anything show. And considering how many bites I'm getting, you would think that if they're eating, they'd have to sort of clear their gills, so to speak, so they would be showing, but they're not. But I'm not going to complain. I don't need to see him jumping out there, I just need to see him in the net. That's a good fish, that. Right, little bit of a pandemonium this, but I'm telling you now that that is by far the biggest fish I've landed this trip. That is a monster. Bloody hell, I don't even know what to say. We was actually just finishing off the last few sausages that were in the pan and the rod ripped off. I don't even know what's happened in the last like 10 minutes, but it caught my other rod. I've had a bit of a mare, but this fish in the net, let me tell you, I reckon it's a 40-pounder. Check this bad boy out. Little bad boy, little Ronald McDonald rig. I'm pretty sure this is one of the biggest mirrors in the lake. Don't want to get too excited, but it looks like it. Bearing in mind I've already had a 35 and a 38. That fish there could be the first 40 of 2024. Oh, lovely. That's a big fish, that. It's a big fish. Although I think that what I've got in the net is the biggest fish in Brasenose 2, there is still a lot of other big ones out there. As you've already seen on this film, it's gone way better than what I expected. Literally gone way better than what I've expected. I'm sure it's a 40 plus, a 38, a 35, a 33, a 30, and half a dozen more fish. What an amazing stamp of fish. And like, as excited as I am to have landed that fish, the next one could be a similar size. So fresh bait, more bait out there, we go again. Look at the size of that thing. That's what it's all about. It felt all a 4.0 when I lifted it out, I'm not going to lie. Oh, it's well over 40 pounds. Oh, deep, easy, fat boy. It's just over, under 44 pound. 44 pound. It's massive. 44 pounder. Well, I said from the start, when you're fishing a place like Brasenose 2, you never know what that next bite is going to be. Sat there, just cooking a little bit of lunch. Check this out. Brasenose 2's big mirror, 44 pound. Don't know what to say. Unbelievable. 44, a 38, a 35, a 33, a 30. What a winter trip. Look at that. The biggest UK carp that we've filmed so far since we started CineCarp. Unbelievable. 44 pound of big January mirror carp. 44 pound of January monster. Wow. Mate, look how big it looks in the water. On to the next one. I'm sure you will all know by now that when it comes to the bait that I'm spomming out, I like to keep it very, very simple, but ultimately know what I'm using in my mix and why I'm using what I'm using in my mix. Now here on Brasenose 2, I have kept it very, very simple, and I'm using just the 3 ingredients that I've got in front of me here. First things first, sweet corn. Now, when I'm putting the corn in the mix, I'm not actually putting a great deal of corn in. I'm probably putting about half a tin to every mix that I'm making. And each mix that I've been making, certainly after each fish, has consisted of between 3 to 5 spoms. So I've really not been putting a lot of corn in. And the reason for that is because the water is relatively clear, the fish aren't moving around a great deal, which means the birds can therefore see down. And with Brasenose 2 being very, very shallow, or certainly a lot shallower than the other lakes, I don't want loads of sort of visual attraction in there that's going to sort of draw the birds in. They're going to dive bomb the spot and they're going to eat all the bait before the carp eventually turn up on me. The next thing that I've actually got in the mix, normally I'll be using mulched up boilers, but I've actually gone this time for 2.3mm bloodworm pellets. And the reason for this is, as I've already mentioned, the crayfish in here can be quite bad. Now, we haven't had much of a problem since we've been here, but if they were a problem, by using pellets, when the crayfish are actually crunching these up, they're not getting the whole pellet. Little bits and pieces are breaking away. The pellets are constantly swelling, they're constantly breaking down, they're always leaking off attraction, therefore the spot is always activated with loads of scents and loads of smells. And aside from that as well, they're nice and dark, therefore meaning that when the birds are sort of cruising over the spod mix, so to speak, or the area of bait that I've put out, there's nothing there that's really going to attract them and pull them down. The third and final ingredient that I'm putting in the mix is something that I've spoken about so many times before, and that is indeed worms. Now, I use worms almost everywhere I go fishing, certainly at this time of the year when not necessarily the bites are hard to come by, but just by putting some chopped worm in there, it can just activate that mix even more. Now, you don't need a lot, and this is something that I stress so much to so many people. People want to turn up with 10, 12 kilos and think if they absolutely hump a load of worms in, they're going to catch more than anyone else on the lake. This is simply not the case. Every time I'll be making a mix up, I'll be taking no more than a pinch. Say 20 worms, 25 worms, chopping them down nice and fine, adding them to the mix and getting the mix out there. And again, the mix is loaded with attraction. You don't need a lot of this after each bite to keep the fish coming back for more. Oh, I've got a bite, I've got to go. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Well, it's been a little while since I slipped that 40 pounder back, but a few more spoms out there and I am into another carp. It's quite weird though actually, because I had that 40 pounder and like I say, it's gone a little bit quiet, and sometimes you can find that when you're getting a number of fish, that sort of the last fish that you catch or the first fish that you catch is always a good one. And I think that's probably what's happened. It was action this morning, had that 44 pounder, then it's been quiet for a few hours, almost like it's come in when there's been nothing else there, and I've had to put a bit more bait out just to sort of reactivate the spot, so to speak. And yeah, it's paid off. Into another one. This one doesn't feel like it's 44 pound, but they all count. In we go. Another nice mirror carp. Well, the day is rapidly drawing to a close, but what a great day it's been. This one here, a little over 27 pound. I don't know how many bites I've had today, but it's just been absolutely incredible. Like I say, the light's fading fast. I'm going to get the rods done, back out perfect before it gets dark, like I always do. More bait over the top, and all that's left for me to do now is to order myself and Brad a nice big celebratory kebab. What a day. Off you go, my old mate. Look at that. Oh. We're just about to lose light. The rods have gone back out there absolutely perfectly, and I've put about 8 or 10 spoms over the top, which is a fair bit of bait considering I've only been putting 3 out after each bite. But last night I had a bite a similar sort of time to now, then I didn't catch another one until probably 8, 9 o'clock. So it was quite a period of time where I didn't have a bite. And like I've already said, there is a few crayfish in Brasenose too. I actually spoke to a guy that was further down the bank today, and he said that he'd only started catching carp this morning, but prior to him catching carp, he'd had a few problems with crayfish. Not bad, but they'd been on his spot, and that's sort of typical of crayfish activity really. If you're not catching carp and there's crayfish present, they're going to be there, but as soon as the carp come on, the crays will just push away. So the reason why I put a bit more bait in now is because this is the sort of time of night where they're going to come out to play. You know, if they've been hiding away in the day, now as we get towards sort of the dusk period, this is when they're going to start to come out. And I've put a little bit of extra bait because I'm almost banking on that there might be a few around the area. But if I haven't had anything by sort of 9, 10 o'clock tonight, I will redo the rods. Weather's a lot different now as well. It's flat calm. It's meant to cool right off again tonight. But on the plus side, there's been quite a few fish showing today, and there's been a few fish getting caught from around the lake. So I don't think it's the last of the action. But you know what? And I know we always say it, like when you've had a real good one, but I honestly don't really mind if nothing else happens. I'd quite happily have something to eat tonight, reel the rods in, wake up in the morning and go again. But me being me, that ain't going to be the case. Them rods are out there. I will redo them a little bit later on, but yeah, what an amazing day. Well, 24 hours it's been so far. Never ever in my wildest dreams did I expect to have caught quite what I've caught, but at the same time, them fish are out in this lake, and all the while your rods are out and you're catching them, you've always got a chance. And you know, with that big one, you've got what, 15, 1800 fish in here. The probability of you catching it is pretty slim, but like I say, getting them rods back out after you've caught one is so important, because that next bite could just be that fish. I understand. But my head torch is all skewiff on my head, isn't it? Literally, first bite of the night this is. You know, it's like you can't find your head torch. So I've had the bite, and I've tried to put my head torch on. It's got all my head all caught up in it, but we are into a carp. It's flat calm as well now, which is quite cool. It means that I can get out and fish accurately at night, because I can see the leads landing, because there's quite a bit of sort of light pollution over the back of the trees. Caught on something there. Ravenous. I'll tell you these things are. Probably the fact that I've got a head torch beaming out into the water doesn't help, but it is what it is. Another nice fish. That's such a good average size of fish. In you go then, my son. Oh, there we go. Another one. $25.5. Good start to the night. Pretty looking fish, just like me. Well, not too dissimilar time to last night. The right-hander dropped back to the floor, and this one, 25.5 pound. The average size of fish has been so good. Like I say, we've already had, oh, he's gonna kick. Oh, good hand, see that? So we've already had 5 over 30 pound. I'm going to carry on talking like the professional that I am. Yeah, we've already had 5 over 30 pound. The average size of the backup fish has been absolutely unbelievable. The quality of the fish, albeit a little bit lively, has been really good. Yeah, I'm going to try and lift this one back up to show you because it is quite a pretty fish. Got a nice line of scales down by its tail. If he's not having it, come on. Da, 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 da. There he is. 25.5 pound Brasenose 2 mirror carp. As you've just seen there, he's rather lively, so I'm going to slip him back. A bit more bait out there, and hopefully there's more to come. Well, again, another pretty motionless night. I had one on the first night. I actually had two last night early on, but I did have a really, really nice lever. But typically, it came right in the middle of when Brad was going to collect the kebab. So yeah, we've got a couple of photographs of that, but again, another fish over 30 pound. The average size has been unbelievable. But something else that did happen as well, and what I've spoken about before, is when I wound one of the rods in to re-chuck them, I actually hooked a crayfish, which was obviously on the spot because as soon as I picked the rod up, I could feel that it was on the end. And that's probably the reason why I didn't get any more last night. Even though I did bring the hook baits in and they were still fishing, probably there was a lot of crayfish over the spot, and I do think they sort of put the carp off. And unless the carp are there in real numbers to push the crays off, then I do think that the crayfish are going to be a little bit more overpowering and they're going to sort of stand their ground. But again, just like yesterday, the rods, brought them in this morning, fresh hook bait, chucked them back out on the clip, put another 10 bombs over the top, and I'm sort of sitting here now just waiting. But it has gone proper cold this morning. You know, yesterday it was about 8 or 9 degrees when we woke up. This morning it is just over 0 degrees. It's freezing, and the wind's blowing right in our face, which obviously doesn't help things, and it makes it feel a lot colder. So slightly different in conditions, but I still think there's chances of bites. But I know we say it all the time, you know what, if nothing else happens from now till the end, I won't be that bothered. Probably going to give it another hour, 2 hours, just to see this morning out, see if there is another bite to be had that we could finish on. Obviously, it's always good to finish on a fish, but if we don't get any more, what a fantastic trip it's been. Better than I could ever have expected. 6 fish now, over 30 pound, including the lake's biggest mirror at 44 pound. Simply unbelievable January action. Well, that's it, last rod on its way in. What an amazing trip it's been. I think holding out for one more this morning might have just been a little bit too greedy. Still can't believe what's actually happened. I'd have been happy just to have had a couple of bites, given the time of year and what the lake's just gone through. But to have ended it with near on 20 fish, 6 of those over 30, a 35, a 38, and the lake's biggest mirror at 44 pound. It has definitely been a winter session to remember. So yeah, I hope what I've shown you throughout the course of this video gives you some inspiration to get out there no matter whatever the weather, because there is always a chance. All the while them rods are in the water and you've got bait over the top, there's always a chance of a bite. See you next time.